Alright guys, so we were going to make a different video today for FF7 Remake, but I think we're going to hold that video off until tomorrow, because I came across an article from Kotaku, of course it's Kotaku, they're always offended by stuff, that's discussing people being offended by Barret. Apparently Barret's portrayal of black people is racist, they don't like the voice from the trailer. In my 20-ish years of being a Final Fantasy VII fan, I've never heard of anybody being offended by Barret. I've never heard of Barret being like a racial, stereotypical depiction of black people or something like that. Just never heard of it. Maybe it's a popular thing in the community. It's just not something that I've ever come across. And apparently he's modeled after Mr. T in a lot of ways, and I guess I could kind of see that, and the voice sort of matches that as well, but I never took it as an offensive thing. This game was initially made in the 90s. Mr. T would have been popular then, would have been probably one of the only black people that they even knew of, which is why they modeled him after Mr. T. People seem to forget that Japan, China, and other countries around the world are just very different cultures. It's not a melting pot like America. They have a majority of their own people there, and it's not like they see black people all the damn time outside of maybe movies. Which I'm assuming is how they would have seen Mr. T to model Barret after. And regardless of whether or not you think that the Barret character is offensive or racist towards black people or stereotypical towards black people, I think this was pretty progressive at the time. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, because I haven't played every single Final Fantasy before Final Fantasy VII, but was there even any black people in the series before Barret, before 7? And yes, looking into it really quickly, Barret was the first black character to ever be in the Final Fantasy series, so again, this was actually very progressive at the time. And apparently some people out there were expecting or wanting change, wanting Barret to be portrayed differently, but the thing is, they're trying to stick to the original game as much as possible, and I loved Barret's character from the game. He had a very dark and tragic backstory that you learn throughout the story, but he was also one of the funny characters, one of the comic relief characters, and I'm excited to see that portrayed in the modern era. Yesterday, a new teaser for the Final Fantasy VII Remake dropped, and players got to see and hear more of the characters as they will appear in the new game. For the most part, the reaction is positive. In the case of Barret Wallace, the reaction has been mixed. Barret is a stereotype of a gruff black man in the English translation of the original game. In Kotaku video producer Tim Rogers' analysis of the translation, he points out how the English translation, which he says was done by a single person in 2 weeks, inserted that characterization after the fact. Barret's characterization in this version involves an exaggerated black dialect, and his retranslated dialogue now also emphasizes Americanized ideals about masculinity. In what Tim describes as the most important text box in Japanese role-playing games English translation history, the game mistranslates Barret's expression of empathy to a depressed Cloud. Instead of telling Cloud that everyone gets depressed, like he does in the Japanese text, Barret says that people only get depressed if they don't know what's going on. The fact that the line is preceded with the line, "Yo, just think about it. How many people in the world do you think really understand themselves?" further reinforces Barret as some kind of hyper-masculine cartoon. Not a fully realized person, but a Mr. T facsimile, I think it's that word, full of weak bon mots. I don't know what the fuck's going on now. This depiction plays into racist assumptions people make about black men, not seeing them as full people, but as hulking masses of muscle that sometimes provide folksy wisdom. That shit sounds racist to me, what he just said. What he says right there at the end is something that I've never even heard of. I've never heard anybody in my entire life say that black people are not full people, but hulking masses of muscle that sometimes provide folksy wisdom. Who has ever said that in their life? And even if somebody translated it differently or translated it wrong, I don't understand what's so hyper-masculine or offensive about Barret saying that people who are depressed don't know what's going on, and following that up with saying that how many people in the world do you think really understand themselves? What's hyper-masculine about that? Like, a hyper-masculine thing would have been like him, punching Cloud in the arm and be like, "Dude, get up, bro. Get up, bro. Stop being so sad all the time. You're weak, you pussy." Like, that would have been hyper-masculine. Him saying, "How many people in the world do you think really understand themselves?" is actually kind of like a deep line, the complete opposite of hyper-masculine. Many fans were indeed hoping for a modernization of Barret with this remake. Barret's voice actor, Bo Billingsley, is a wonderful actor, most famous for having played Jet in the English dub of Cowboy Bebop. In the trailer for the FF7 remake, though, he sounds like he's about to start speaking in tongues in church. Yes, Lord. And quickly looking into it, Bo Billingsley isn't even doing the voice acting for Barret Wallace in Final Fantasy VII Remake. I don't know if he initially was, and shit changed, or if he never was doing it. He was the voice actor for Barret in the past. I don't know exactly what happened, but regardless, I'm not surprised that Kotaku didn't put in the effort or the research to even see that he's not a part of the game. And to be honest, it sounds like they've changed every one of the voice actors just about. I haven't compared Aerith to like Aerith in the past for me, like Advent Children or Crisis Core, but Barret sounds different, Cloud sounds different, and even Sephiroth sounds different. It's crazy to me that people are trying to make a bigger deal than this actually is, because Barret has like 2 to 3 sentences in the trailer. It's subject to change. It's development footage. They could easily change the voice acting before the game even comes out. But he has like 2 or 3 sentences and a couple of grunts during combat. And that's all he ever says in the trailer.
I'm here for you, to help take the load off your shoulders. That's easy enough.
Please explain to me what is offensive or racist about anything that we just witnessed. The most aggressive criticism I saw came from Brandon Dixon, the creator of the upcoming tabletop RPG Swordsfall, never heard of it, which is set in an Afro-futurist nation. Can a game for fucking once just make the black guy normal? Why is he a walking MTV cliche of what people think black men are like? He wrote on Twitter. Do they ever talk to people of color at all? For one, I had to look up what Afro-futuristic meant. Never even heard of the term. It's think essentially Wakanda and Black Panther. It's like tribal looking, but also like futuristic. You can kind of see that here with this guy's tabletop game, Swordfall. Because it's kind of like tribalistic looking with like the clothing that they're wearing and stuff like that. But then you see the futuristic technology on them, stuff like that. So he's essentially just ripping off Black Panther for the most part for tabletop RPG. This is the guy right here, Brandon Dixon. This is the guy that's super offended. And if we go over to his Twitter, you can see right here in his bio, passionate social justice warrior with a splash of nerd. So he's a proud social justice warrior. So do we give a shit about his game or his opinion? No. That's somebody that's just looking for something to complain about. We get a new trailer for this game after like 3.5 years of complete silence, nothing. Square Enix won't tell us a damn thing about this game. We finally get a new trailer that a lot of people didn't think we were ever even going to get at an event like State of Play. And people are finding a way to be pissed off and offended. It's just ridiculous, man. I'm just excited for this game. And I personally love the way Barret sounded. He sounds like a guy his size. He's a big fucking dude. He should have a deep voice. And I'm assuming the voice actor for Barret, whoever it is these days, is a black person. I'm assuming they wouldn't get somebody else to do those lines. And if they were willing to read those lines like that, they're not offended. You shouldn't be offended. Move the fuck on. And also, I don't know if they missed this. The beginning of the trailer literally says development footage subject to change. So everything can be different by the time the game actually comes out. So stop being offended by everything, you pussies. Anyways, my dudes, like I said, I was going to put out something a little bit different today, but I seen this and just felt like it needed to be discussed. It was absolutely ridiculous. People can't be happy, man. I'm just excited. We got something for this game. We're getting more stuff in the future. Who knows what we're going to get. Potentially a release date soon. There's all the possibility, based on rumors and other information, that this game could potentially be releasing late this year or potentially next year. Like, we could be playing this game very, very soon, and people want to be offended by the voice acting for Barret. It's just so ridiculous, man. Either way, hopefully you guys enjoyed the video, and if you did, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel if you guys are new and want to stay up to date with more Final Fantasy VII Remake content. Turn on notifications, follow me on Twitter at @TheDashingDavid, and my Discord. Links to my social networks are in the description and in the outro. Later, guys.
I'm here for you to help take the load off your shoulders. That's easy enough.
That's crazy!
Give me a smile, give me forever for a while, give me forever for a while. Quit